Other life begins at 40. You know, when you're young, used to get people say, our life begins at 40. I don't know if to believe that or not, but what I do think is that throughout your teens, and every circumstance is different, everyone has a different circumstances from the next person. Not all have experienced a great upbringing as a child or as a teenager or even as a young man or woman. But on the other hand, some people have had an amazing upbringing, an amazing parents, amazing life, and loads of fantastic opportunities. But does life really begin at 40? I think it begins at 40 if you've done really well during your teens and during your 20s. But I don't think it begins at 40 if you haven't had a great experience as being a teenager and haven't really had your head screwed on being in your 20s. Because when we're young, you know, we mess around, don't we? Depending on the individual, some people might steal cars and motorbikes. I know a few people that are watching this may agree, you know, they probably the best times of their lives were in the late 80s and the early 90s. You know, who didn't have a sneaky fag behind the school sheds at school, or, you know, on the way home or something, or who didn't go to the park and have a little swig on White Lightning or a few cans of Stella. You know, some people live like that. On other occasions, other people may have been a gymnastic enthusiast or enjoyed the country and liked going for hikes, or had a very active mum and dad that got them involved into football and rugby and boxing and karate and music and so forth. So you've got different environments of upbringings, right? You also got maybe an upbringing where your mum and dad were devoted to each other and gave you the best upbringing you could possibly have, and they idolised you both, and they wanted their children to be better than them, to do better than them, and gave you the best upbringing possible. Even parents that are separated, you know, where the parents are separated and gone their own way, and one of the parents has brought up their child, and that single parent is driven to give their children the best upbringing they could possibly give them. That's admirable. But on the other hand, you'll get other parents that envy other people and just go cold on their children and don't want them to have the best, don't want them to succeed, don't want you to do better than them. There's a lot of parents like that, you know, where they look down on you and they just want nothing but shit for you, you know. So there's various of upbringings. That's why I always say, don't judge people, you know, until you get to know people. People are very judgmental. They don't know the exterior or the interior of that person and what that person's had to go through to be the person that they are today. So going through your teens, you know, you're worried about what everyone thinks, and you're trying to. Not everyone. Most people. Some people are just set differently and built differently. You know, some people don't give two fucks about what other people think of them. But generally speaking, when you're in your teens, you do. You know, like I try. How can I put it? So like you got a load of people that you don't quite fit in. So you go out of your way to like their hobbies, to like what they're into, just to fit in, to be liked, you know, and to make fake friends basically. And then, you know, you get these people that hang around with you and that, but they don't really hang around with you, they're just laughing at you, you know. So you make mistakes when you're young, and you're trying to seek approval all the time, and you're always concerned about what other people think, especially public humiliation or school humiliation, and anything that's going to humiliate you is embarrassing, you know. Some people even lead to the extremes of suicidal. They can't cope with they can't cope with it. But we make our mistakes and we're learning, we're growing, ain't we? And then you get the other decade when we're in our 20s. You're still trying to figure it out. Some people figure it out very early, and they know exactly what they are, what they are, what they want to be, and they're very fucking driven. But I do believe that is down to the parenting, you know. If you've got parents that are glued together and they bring you up and they teach you the ways of the world, and they teach you about finance, and they teach you about prosperity and manifestation, and the ways of the universe, and to think positive and to believe in yourself, and they believe in you, then that's different. But on the other hand, if you're brought up by parents that don't believe in you and think nothing but the worst of you, that'd be very difficult for that individual. And please comment on anyone that's had this experience growing up, you know, as a teenager and going in their 20s, always feeling they're having to doubt themselves because people don't believe in them, and then they quit and give up very soon because they just think, well, no one don't believe in me, why should I fucking believe in myself, you know? So it's very hard to come out of that cycle where you've been brought up with, say, an individual parent that doesn't give two hoots about you, don't care about your feelings, and they expect you to slave on them and to live up to their expectations, you know, instead of your dreams. And because their dreams never worked, because they didn't focus on, or whatever excuse they come up with, they don't want to see you happy. You know, you do get parents like that, and that can be very hard for an individual, especially when they're going in their teens and they're very confused and they're wondering what's happening and who do I want to be, who do I want to become, and they go through errors and they make mistakes, and some even rebel, and you know, in and out of prison, and some challenge it into, say, boxing or sports or some forth, you know, and do really well at it. But you go through your 20s, you're chasing girls and chasing the wrong ones, and you're chasing fake friends, and you're making all your mistakes, and you're always worrying about other things, you care about what other people think, you know. And then you hit your 30s, you're still figuring out, I think, and you meet someone, and you have a family together, or you might not. You might decide to go travelling. You might decide to become a recluse. You might decide just to go totally off grid. You know, some people do this, and you know, you might start up your own business and become really successful. But you're starting to make plans. But I'll tell you something: the minute you hit your 40s. Seriously, you just no longer give a shit about people's feelings. You no longer care about what you say to people. You just say it very bluntly and very openly, and you speak your mind, whether you're a man or a woman. Not everyone is like this. Some people are still like they are in their younger days, in their 20s and their 30s. You know, that's why I don't believe life begins at 40. I think you become slightly wiser in your 40s. I'd like to think so. You change as an individual. You see things differently than how you used to see it, say, in your 20s and in your 30s. And you know a bit more about what you want out of life, and you start seeing through people's bullshit and their craps and their lies, and you don't want to be a part of that circle anymore. You start distancing yourself from all the fake people, and you're starting to, like an old friend of mine said, you start sieving out the shit, you know, and you keep the good ones and you get rid of the shit ones. Like a big sieve, you know? And I do think that's how it is. As you get to 40s, you no longer care, and you don't worry about what people say about you, and you start living the quality of life. You start seeking quality of life, and you want the best in your life. And maybe that is when, for some people, life begins at 40, but I think life begins when you decide you want to start living the best life that you want to live, and you're not worried about what other people think, and you got goals, and you're ruthlessly, you have a ruthless mindset, not in a nasty way, but in a good way, on yourself in order to do better. So I think life can begin for anyone, depending on their mindset. And if you're willing to work hard and put aside all the bullshit and all the shit, and figure out who you're meant to be, and maybe do some meditation and go fishing on your own, or just do things on your own to get away from all the hustle and bustle, that's when I think, that's when you realise who you're meant to be. So, you know, don't be pressured by life. Don't be forced that you got to be a certain way, or you got to form into society to be appreciated. That's bullshit. Just be who you want to be. Enjoy life. Make the most of it, and be happy. and constantly work to improve yourself to become a better individual. You know, people will come and go in your life, but money will always be there. Don't ever tell yourself that you're poor, that you're skinned, that you got nothing. You know, it might be hard at that time, but that's only at that present time. Doesn't mean it's going to be like that for you for the rest of your life. You know, whatever bad day you're having today or tomorrow doesn't mean it's going to be the same as next week. It'll only be like that if you choose to think that way. So if you think positive, and be happy and strive for greatness and constantly tell yourself over and over and over again, you will succeed and you will enjoy life at any given moment. So don't listen to all the hype about life begins at 40. God bless.